Right then, here's a cheeky bit of additional content that we are calling the Full Force Monthly Extra. Each month we will add a separate short topic for a little extra monthly fun. For this month, stop saying month, and in keeping with our PulseCon theme, we thought we would talk about some of our favourite con exclusives over the years. The choices can be from any official convention, so first up is Justin again. Who have you got, mate?
I had to go all the way back to 2005, which was early on in the G.I. Joe Collectors Club era, with the O-ring repaints, and what they did was it was a Mars Attacks convention set, which incorporated the Iron Grenadiers, which has always been a very
The
a
aliens
favorite
with the big heads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take me to your leader. Yeah. No, with the Iron Grenadiers have always been a long time favorite of mine, and they did a really interesting way of kind of bringing those characters into play alongside some creative reuse of O-ring tooling. They created the iron anvils out of the 94 Viper repaint, which I've always been a big fan of that figure. A new metal head, and to add to that, they kind of introduced Steel Brigade and used some Mega Marines tooling, which I thought was really cool for Gung Ho, and some great urban camouflage. But they also brought in Dragon Ski from the October Guard, and back then, that was a key October Guard member they were missing in O-ring form. They just did a lot of things really, really right in that set that I really loved, and even after all of these years, it remains one of my all-time favorite G.I. Joe sets. I think they just did a really fantastic job all around on putting that set together, from the parts chosen to the theme, to just some creative parts reuse. It remains one of my favorites.
Is that what they introduced the urban camo, the rain camo for Steel Brigade?
Yes, yeah, that was all the Steel Brigade figures had that kind of urban rain sort of camouflage. Yeah,
it's kind of like a cool little addition, I thought, on the on the camo, with that kind of scratching across it. It's really neat. Yeah, totally, man. That's a great set. Pat, your thoughts on that one?
I think I mentioned earlier, I raised my expectations ridiculously for some of these sets. This one, there was a lot of this that I did like, but some of the execution, I'm never a fan of like the convention flush tone that they used. I want my convention figures to be able to go right next to my retail figures and look like they supplement them without standing out. And for that reason, I never was a really big fan of the camouflage on this set, because it's so much deco on that style of figure that I didn't feel like the Steel Brigade half of this worked. I really did love the fact that they were taking that Viper and repainting it, because they were bringing out a lot of the details that I felt could be brought out a little bit better on that figure than what the 1994 one was. Love the inclusion of Metalhead, that 1994 Metalhead,
yes,
into Iron Grenadiers. That was an excellent choice, and I really love that figure for that reason. I also like the fact that they had lost Voltar in the comic book. He had passed away, and so it was nice to have kind of that role filled by another character with General Mayhem.
General Mayhem, yep.
The story kind of, it makes the Iron Grenadiers as a team feel complete again.
Yeah. And that worm's body with the different head to kind of make him a really unique character really worked well.
And I really did also like the basic Iron Grenadier from this. I didn't have any, obviously there's no flesh tone showing on that. There's no camo. I didn't have any issue with the way that it looked at all. And I like the fact that it had like a different body. It was using that Night Viper body.
Yeah.
So it kind of called back to the original appearance, in my mind, of the Iron Grenadiers in the comics, where they were using some different gear from Cobras.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say it was a decent promotion for Norgahide to General Mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah. For sure.
Well, they glued the helmet on, so you couldn't tell it was Norgahide underneath.
And that's in real life as well. No, that's wicked. It's a really good reuse of that head, honestly. It's a cool set, man. I kind of dig it. What about you, Pat? What's your fave?
My hands down, my favorite is Vacation in the Shadows. We had been wanting Red Shadows. I'd been wanting Red Shadows to be incorporated back into G.I. Joe in some way, shape, or form ever since I found out about them. And there's an appeal to the style and the design of those characters. And so to get those, again, brought back into G.I. Joe, I thought was an incredible win. Wasn't huge on the Flint figure that was in that year. But
missed an opportunity there, didn't they?
A little bit, yeah.
Flint's vacation. Flint would have been really cool, wouldn't it? Like, give him a t-shirt, give him some slacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep the beret. I think that would have been dope. I'm not even kidding. I think that would have been wicked.
I'm not. I totally agree with you.
I mean, it was a Vacation in the Shadows set. I mean, that seems like it lended itself perfectly to that sort of thing. So.
Perfectly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the green that they chose on the figure, isn't that kind of based on the color of green Flint was wearing on vacation in the episode of the cartoon?
Yeah, on the shirt.
Yeah, on the shirt.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hint of. It's like.
But if they had just gone with that, with that Sunbow Flint, the way that he looked on vacation, I think it could have been perfect. But I love the red shadows. People criticize them for some of the aspects of the figures having the smaller neck, but I think that was just to kind of get it to fit inside the way the bodies had been told. And, it added to the Red Shadows ranks. I'm not always a fan whenever the club would just make up something new based on what parts that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But what did they call them that year? Was it Red Flame Troopers? What were they called?
Red Torch or something like that, maybe?
Torch.
Red Torch.
Red Torches.
Yeah. It was a nice addition to the Red Shadows, and just the fact that we hadn't seen them for a long time, it felt fitting that they should get something added to their ranks. And I didn't mind the interrogator figure either. I thought that was, and the face that was underneath of it too, being a call out to old G.I. Joe. It felt like there was a lot of sense of heritage with this set, more than what we had ever gotten before. And the other sets did have some of that in there, with the Black Dragon and things like that. But this set was just really nailing it. I love this one a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good shout. What are you thinking, Justin?
Yeah, no, it's tough to disagree with any of that. I mean, the Red Shadows were a great inclusion to finally get them in sort of O-ring form to blend with the rest. I think I do feel like there were some missed opportunities. I would have loved to have seen the club or Hasbro themselves dive into the Action Force Red Shadow side a little bit more heavily. It almost seems incomplete to just have this set and not like, some of the other more familiar ones, like Blades or Coral kind of in kind of modernized sort of O-ring format. I know they did some of those in the New Sculpt era, but it would have been cool for them to add some of that stuff in. I like the Interrogator is one of my favorite characters, and I like what they did with the figure. I found it interesting that they did that and Flint rather than some of the Action Force characters that would have fit.
Yeah, I think they were almost trying to like appeal to both crowds a little bit, weren't they? Like make sure that the Americans knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah. As a whole, I have some great memories of this whole convention. Actually, I mean, it was in Rhode Island. It was one of the closest conventions, and I could actually drive there easily and back. And I had a lot of fun. There was a tour of Hasbro. It was a really fun convention all around, and so this kind of brings back some of those memories too. So that certainly helps its case.
Speaking of memories, Justin, I'm going to talk about my favorite set now, which we have shared memories of. Pat, you were there too, but you weren't on our journey or our epic quest across half of the United States
epic
to
quest.
Get there. So for me, I'm going to go back, and it's funny how this is based in nostalgia. It was like what? I can't even remember what year it was now. 20-something teen. 2016.
16, yeah.
So 2016, it was the Springfield convention. And basically it was the Tiger Force kind of Tiger Force and Iron Grenadiers again. It's always Iron Grenadiers. Iron Grenadiers are always in it. How many Iron Grenadiers things are we going to have? Like it seemed to be all the time, actually, didn't it? But anyway, irrelevant on that one. Because we had that Iron Grenadiers like wintry kind of one against the October Guard as well, didn't we? We've had a lot of Iron Grenadiers stuff.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
I get it. Now with this one, this was the one. I think the second con I've been to. The previous one in 2015 was Dallas, I want to say. Yes.
Could be something like that.
That was the first one I've been to. So this was I was coming back to JoeCon for the second time, making that reappearance. And Justin drove me and a number of other people, including Eric Aranya, Dave Tree. We also had Fred and Chris, and who else was in the other car?
Did you mention Dave Proctor? Dave Proctor
and Davey P. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
So Dave Tree and Davey P. And that was the team that was going from this area right where we are right now to Blumin Kokomo, and then to, well, that was south, and then to Springfield. And it was a pretty epic journey that Justin did most of the driving, all of the driving for. Mate, how did you manage that? We were talking about that today, actually, myself.
I had gotten myself accustomed to, I'm not a big fan of planes. I'll admit that I don't like flying if I can help it. And I love to drive. And I had actually been driving to conventions, even ones down in Atlanta and New Orleans, and I live up in New Hampshire. So I've been making the drive in years past, and it really doesn't bother me a whole lot. So really, it was just like driving to another convention, only this time I had a car full of friendly people to sing Eminem songs with, and it was great.
Oh, that was fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
The best bit was getting lost, going down a random bit for about an hour, and then having to turn around and come back again. That was quite awesome.
And we stopped at Kokomo Toys, and it was great.
One of the memories I had, one of the vivid memories I had, was waking up in the back of your car. It's dark. This is on the first leg of the journey, so we were trying to find a hotel. Yeah, and all the images were coming through from the convention, and Justin had his phone on a thing and was like whoever was in the passenger seat was scrolling through them to have a look at all of the new Joe stuff coming through. So that was our first in what was happening on the show floor kind of thing, because we weren't there yet, obviously. But people were sharing what the figures were and everything. Go on, Pat.
That was me sharing out pictures. You guys were responding. I remember it.
It's amazing. Amazing. I love that we got that connection. That's brilliant. It's weird that was my vivid memory of this situation, and that also included Pat. That's brilliant.
That's awesome.
So I shared the bonus thing, and I remember specifically talking about that. And then I was sharing pictures of the inside of the comics, and you guys were responding to that.
Of course. Jeez, man. And I remember, the night we found a hotel that was in the middle of nowhere and looked sketchy AF.
That was a crazy. I think we let the car ahead of us, Dave Proctor, kind of choose the hotel, and I don't know how well that worked out, but we're still alive, so
we turned around quick, and we went and we found a Holiday Inn somewhere, didn't we?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I remember we went inside, we got in our rooms, I put my head down for 1 hour, then we got back up again, showered, and left. It was rapid, wasn't it? It was we're not staying, guys. We're just going to have to just get your head down for an hour, and then we'll just get back on the road again. It was wow. And then, Kokomo Toys was fun. We got there late as well to Springfield, didn't we? And everyone's coming out with their, boxes full of figures. And I remember, and this is part kind of tied into this, my favorite convention exclusive to this day is the Tiger Force Eagle Hawk, or the Tiger Hawk, or whatever you want to call it. I just thought that was freaking awesome. I loved the Eagle Hawk when it came out anyway. I thought it was a beautiful vehicle. I would have, in actual fact, in my bedroom when I lived in Norwich, on top of my wardrobe, I had the vintage Tomahawk and the Eagle Hawk next to each other. And so when they said that was going to be the Tiger Force, they were going to do that, I was blown away. I remember they shared a panel, an image of a side panel of the Tiger Hawk before the convention. And I remember seeing that, and everyone was like, it's going to be a Tiger Force Tomahawk. And that's exactly what it was. And I remember when we got there, Glenn, shout out to Glenn, was coming out of the building where it was, where the exclusives were being sold. And he just had a huge box, and there were 4 of these Eagle Hawks on the top of this box. And I'm like, what? And it was hi, Glenn, and he's rushing, trying to get to his room to put these things away so he can go back and enjoy the convention evening or whatever. But I remember that. Shout out to Glenn. Glenn's awesome. Great friend of us and the show and everything.
Absolutely. It was always good to see him at those shows.
I know. I haven't seen him in so long. I spoke to him on the phone during AR last year.
Oh, good.
Because he couldn't make it. But he was on the phone and he was getting passed around the entire group, much like he would if he'd been there in person. That's one of the reasons why that is one of my favorite ever. And the image of actually I'm showing on screen of my set on my table was when I was living in Norwich and on a flat on my own, and I got Roma Collectibles to send me all of my exclusives when I didn't have to kind of take them home with me. Obviously, there's so much of it, and I got this box that was huge, like on the doorstep. So massive thanks to Roman Collectibles as well for getting all those exclusives, those lovely figures and amazing box sets and vehicles and all. I mean, they knew how to do things for cons, didn't they? Like they went all out, JoeCon.
They did, and yeah, for all the issues that people have with the Collectors Club, many of them valid. I think the JoeCons were an experience that I'm not sure we'll ever get again. I mean, the smaller shows, don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. We love AR and places like that, but just the way the entire fandom came together, just the elaborate sets they would do, the ramp up to it, the information leaks, the comic pages, just that period, that week leading up to it, is unlike anything that I've experienced in a fandom, before or since. And that stretch of time from 2002 through, was it 15 years, 16 years? I mean, it was, going almost every single year. And it's amazing how we could enjoy them so much. I don't want to put a negative spin on it, kind of in spite of the Collectors Club, instead of, partially because of them. Yes, give them credit where it's deserved, but some of the issues that kind of came out of that, it was all of our friends getting together and celebrating our fandom and buying new toys and enjoying new toys and seeing new elements of the universe kind of unfold. That was something I really loved. I mean, people had questions about the comic quality or whatever, but it was exploring new ground and telling new stories, which is something we don't really get enough of these days. So I think that was a really awesome element of JoeCon, and I miss it. I do miss it.
All right, brilliant. We'll bring that to a close then for the episode.
Good job, Pat. Chris.
Everyone's crying. Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Justin, bringing it down.
My bad.
I don't know where we would be, though, if it was still going. Like a 15-figure classified.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Carrying it out.
It would be pretty crazy.
They did the Eagle Hawk. They did a Tiger Force Eagle Hawk, guys. Look at this.
I think like a 5-figure or 4-figure set would be about it.
Yeah, and it probably still costs, $1,200 or whatever it used to cost.
How did we afford it is my question. I had to fly out there first.
It was insane.
To the United States. It was never in a very accessible area of any city that they went to. It was always like really difficult to get to. And when you got there was nothing around. Like you'd have to like walk for miles to get food, or like.
I think I usually spent more money in that weekend than I did like the whole rest of the year on my G.I. Joe stuff. It was kind of crazy.
So true.
Well, it crept up over time. I think the set was like roughly $200 for the set, and then put yourself into that hotel. And at the time, everybody was just like sharing rooms. So those hotel rooms, there'd be just a ton of us packed in.
Yeah,
because you weren't spending much time sleeping that weekend anyway.
Right.
But by the end, it was like, okay, the set's about $400, and we're going to have $400 worth of stuff whenever you get there for sale.
Yeah.
And there's going to be $400 worth of FSS stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
It had crept up quite a lot by the end.
And by the way, there's so much stuff at the convention, you can't bring it on the plane with you, so you have to ship it home for $50 or $60. And it was
The whole point of it was to buy so much that you could sell it and pay for the trip, wasn't it? Like that's what people
used to be
do.
In line with people. Yeah, they would literally be on the eBay mobile app listing things for sale the minute they were getting out of line, and by the next day they had paid for their convention trip. I never had time for that. I was taking pictures and stuff, so I was like,
had the ability.
I would buy 4 of each thing and be like, I get the golden ticket, buy 3 of each thing. Yeah, I'm going to sell this, and I would just end up coming home with 3 times the crap and not sell any of it. Spend more money. It's like
Dave Tree would buy a couple. He would buy like a couple of sets, and he'd effectively pay for his trip by selling that set to me.
So you, man.
It was like I remember getting the Night Force set off him and like all the exclusives. That was a cool one because I think that was the first one he went to. He went to the Indianapolis one first.
Yeah,
2014, I want to say. Then I went to Dallas 2015, and then onwards. Dallas was my first one, and then it was done by like Chattanooga, which is a shame, but still amazing. That's it for this episode of the Extra. I hope you've enjoyed that trip down memory lane, guys.
All the classified guys are like, what the hell are they talking about?
I've never heard of any of these things before.
No kidding.
Google it is all I'll say. Anyway, thank you, lads. That's us out. Boom. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/TheFullForce, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.